So you guys figured out who the trainer's gonna be? I know you're still working with Junior down there in Mexico.
Yeah, that's a good question. As far as I haven't heard anything yet, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, this was just pretty much going over where we're gonna train at and stuff like that. So he took off to Europe for a couple weeks vacation before he wants to start camp strong with his fiance.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Now the thing that I wanted to talk about, because it's always been a topic in here, but your name was just blowing up like crazy because, of course, your name was attached to Manny Pacquiao. So when you came in the game, this guy went from a fighter that was struggling after 9 rounds of stamina to having remarkable stamina. I mean, immediately. You know, no, it wasn't a gradual change. It was an immediate change.
Who are we talking about?
Oh, we're talking about Manny. When you first started working with him, it was an immediate change. He went from a fighter that, like, he had stamina, like he was slowing down and he was near the end of his career, seemed like. And you, like, rejuvenated his career out of nowhere, like, immediate change. Like that the Diaz fight blew everybody's mind away. Because I'm like, this guy is at a higher weight throwing more punches than he did at a lighter weight. So I'm like, how did this happen? So that's when all the red flags started coming up as he started gradually going up. Now, do you look at that as a detraction? Or is that just a compliment to what you do?
I think it's really a compliment. I don't want to just say me, because I have such a great team around me that works with me. You know, people that are educated, good credentials, have been in the business, and good experience. When I first started moving Manny up in weight and stuff like that, of course I incorporated Terry Tom. She's brilliant sports dietitian out here in Los Angeles, and we had a lot of the same ideas. You know, interesting enough, though, I always use baseball analogies because, you know, the Yankees weren't the Yankees just because of Joe Torre. It was also because of the team that he had working behind him, you know, working with the athletes, working, you know, from the batting coaches to, you know, the fielding coaches to the strengthening. You know, it was just a whole line of people that were there. It wasn't just Joe Torre. So, I mean, it's, you know, and it goes the same, you know, for any successful team, you know. You have defensive line coaches, you have, you know, special teams, you have offensive, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. I'm familiar with Terry Tom. You know, she's well respected in her field for nutrition and like all these for making programs for athletes.
Yeah.
And
so when we were able to start with Manny, we were able to do a complete, you know, comprehensive, you know, evaluation and set something up that was for him. And remember, you know, when sometimes, and he was relatively still young then. He was, you know, just turned, I think, he was still 27 or 28. And his body was ready to accept the new changes. You know, Filipino food and is something different. It's not really, I don't think it should be really the very foundation or a good base for an elite athlete, you know, preparing for competition. So I think the change in diet and, of course, the new strength and conditioning program, I think just it shocked his system, and he responded really well, and it was consistency and it was consistency and that's on it. It's always the fighter, you know. They put confidence in what you're doing, and it becomes more successful, and you have better results.
And none of these are superfluids or anything like that. It's just all natural supplements, right?
Yeah, well, everything was natural, you know. To this day, I mean, unfortunately, you know, we're not using the same program, you know, that we used to over the last few fights, but, you know, we always try to stick to the same thing. You know, we keep a log, a recording of things. You know, there's some days, you know, some weeks where you're not performing as well, so you got to look back on the week before that and kind of find out what did we do different. Did we eat different timings, different, you know, maybe different training routine, something. So, you know, we try to keep records of all that.
But you can understand why people were saying at first, like, this guy might be on steroids.
Of course. You know, mean, in this age, bro, it's unfortunately, you know, people have lost trust in the system. You know, you can't blame anybody. I don't. You can only just keep doing what we're doing, incorporating help. You know, like, you know, since then, Terry and I have added a couple more people to our team and try to get smarter, keep learning, keep studying, and just make sure that we're consistent and it's the rest of our athletes. You know, here's something funny, bro.
Yeah.
How come nobody said anything about Andrew Bynum? For the first year, okay, he had the highest scoring game of his career, highest rebounding, his first triple double, and his first the highest assist. He went to the All-Star game, and more importantly, bro, that was the first year he went injury free.
Oh yeah, that's right. You was in charge of his training for after his surgery.
Yeah. Yes. So nobody said anything about steroids then.
Oh no, it's only because Manny is on such a high level in boxing. He's right up there with Floyd Mayweather as far as the biggest names in the sport. So once you are up there with him, and then you're partially responsible for the resurgence of Manny coming back to survive this long, because I don't think he would still be boxing. If you wasn't his strength and conditioning coach, I honestly don't think he would still be boxing. I think he would have probably retired. I don't think his body would have been able to take it.
But if I'm as good as you say I am, it's only because I have a great team, and I always want to share it with them, because it's not, it's for us, it's not about, me. It's a team. We work together. We bounce ideas off each other, and, we try to use the latest and cutting edge and the science that's coming out in strength and nutritional science. So, we're always trying to do the best that we can.
And I think you proved your point, because with Memo, you were basically saying it through the entire camp that, hey, we're not doing the things that we really need to be doing, and Marquez is. You were saying it basically through the training camp, and then when the fight happened and the results happened, it was like you were the only one that really weren't surprised with the results.
I mean, I didn't know that it was going to happen in such dramatic fashion, of course. But I saw the way they were training. I knew they had been training, putting a lot of time into it. I knew that they had done, a reverse and focus more on strength and conditioning and less on the boxing. And I knew that they were training for months. So we saw, how well he came in prepared with Manny's third fight, and that was their first fight together. So as the trainer and the athlete work together, they get to know each other more, and he gets to know their body more. So whatever mistakes that he made in that third fight or he didn't do, he made the adjustments, and he was with Marquez for another 2 more fights. So he had a chance, to figure it out and find out what his weaknesses were, what his strengths were, and I complimented, obviously Marquez is a great tactical boxer as well. So I just thought the approach and the way we were looking at Marquez as far as the team, just he's a bodybuilder, muscles don't mean shit, that kind of stuff. I thought it was very ignorant and very just misplaced.
Right. And I think next time, if they do get the 5th fight, that they'll probably listen and want to go through the whole training program for the next fight.
I hope so, man. But I we'll have to just see. Sometimes boxing is very different. It's a lot of egos and agenda in it. So you don't have we don't get a lot of strength and conditioning coaches and the trainers, training staff. We don't get a lot of support like the other sports do. Like even basketball or baseball. It's just a little different.
Yeah, I know, because most deals like strength and conditioning coaches now are they want long-term deals, but most of them are getting fight-by-fight basis. So it's not, yeah.
And that's usually okay. It's just sometimes it's just kind of hard to there's so many people that are involved with the fighter. They feel like maybe there's a threat issue, or they feel like maybe we're getting too much. It's just really hard to say, my man. It's just it's unfortunate. Unfortunately, we should all be focused on what's best for the fighter. And if you know know what's best for your fighter, and you see something, a consistency in performance at an exceptional level, why would you want to change that? Or better yet, why would you try to dismiss it or talk it down? I mean, it doesn't, it's like Mike Brown interfering with me and Bynum saying, I don't think Andrew should. Mike Brown doesn't give a fuck what I do with Bynum. All he cares about how he performs on the court.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like like Jerry West coming and interfering with me and I mean, you just have people that interfere and get in the way of things, and it's just like in any other sport it would be unheard of.
Yeah. So, what do you think about this this new thing? Well, it's probably not new to you about TRTs, but it's now hitting the media, like sports media, because now they're learning about it. And I interviewed Keith Kaiser, and he was saying that it's not as frequent as is being reported. But he said we do tests for it, and a lot of people. It's not a lot of people getting doctor's notice running around. It's not out of control yet. But he said, yeah.
What is TRT? Is that a new supplement? What is TRT?
Oh, the testosterone replacement treatment, where.
Oh, testosterone replacement treatment. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Right.
Okay.
So that's becoming the new thing right now. We've had a couple of incidents with it. We've seen people race. Yeah,
right?
Peterson. Then we just had another situation with another boxer where his T&E ratio was like almost off the chart. That it looked like it's impossible to be that high. So
right, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, a couple of.
It's going to always be controversial because unfortunately, these guys are athletes, but as men, it's just now. It's always been a problem. It just never was talked about as far as having testosterone deficiency because somehow I think back in the day people would equate it with your masculinity. If you had a low testosterone, you were manly. But unfortunately, athletes during camp always will sometimes either stop or have an increase or decrease in it. And some people are just prone to having testosterone deficiencies. It's just recently when Health and Wellness got involved and started checking hormone levels and checking men's testosterone, so for better quality of life. I think in the Peterson case, I think it was, I don't want to say blown out of proportion, but I don't think what the amounts that he was taking were so low. I think it was that they were just trying to bring up his levels a little bit. But it's just pure speculation on my point. I don't think he was trying to cheat or anything like that. I know him. I know his team. They're not cheaters in my opinion. To me, they don't have that kind of personality. I think it was a legitimate mistake, or not even a mistake. He's just a kid following doctor's orders. So, and I think it was just those little pellets that they impact in the hip. Because they're so slow releasing and it's not very. They don't come in high doses. So to say that he was using it as a performance enhancer, I don't think it was very fair. But again, that's just my opinion.
Right, because they're saying now that years of steroid abuse could cause your testosterone level to drop, and then you could get this testosterone treatment. And they saying a lot of MMA fighters are doing it, and we had a result of this fight where a lot of these older fighters now are coming back because they're putting their levels high and they're getting the maximum of their workouts, and then they taper down to when it's time for fight time, and that's why they think this is going to be a growing concern for the future for the sport.
Yeah, it could be, but I think honestly at the end of the day, as long as there's comprehensive testing that are going to continually look at these levels and make sure that they're within the whatever the guidelines are. As long as they're not bound completely off the charts, I don't see it being that big of an advantage. Unless again, like you said, they're just really having high levels and just going off the charts with them.
Right. But with the fighters you work with, like you like with Manny Pacquiao, I see you put a lot of high calories with him. Do you have to do that with like Chavez Jr. or any of the other fighters, or is that just it has to come that way? They got to take in a lot of calories because they're going to be burning a lot.
Yeah, we do. Chavez, even Chavez did because because of not just the intensity and the level of his workouts, but he also has obviously he's such a big guy for his weight division.
Right.
So the workouts have to be a little bit extended a little bit more, and there has to be a little bit more into it, as far as that. So it's more the quality of the calories that we're putting in with him, so that not only that we can have those good workouts to where he gets conditioned and he gets prepared for a fight, but also he's also recovering properly.
Oh, okay. Because I was thinking, like, I don't know how many fights he can have at 160. I think his body's gonna grow to 168 like really soon. I don't know.
Yeah, he's a big kid, but there's just so many fights at 165 that he's interested in, or 160, I should say. So look at Bernal Hopkins, man. He's a big man. He took care of himself. He's always taking care of himself. I think he's a testament to being consistent, great nutrition, great physical training, and he still stays within his weight. He never ever. I mean, when I worked with him. Worked in his camp when he fought. Was it Winky? No, wasn't Winky right? Yeah, it was Winky right, I think. Anyway, but he told me he was never 10 pounds away from weight. Even in the off season. So if athletes go in there with that kind of idea, use your diet, use your conditioning, your training, and tone it down, but make it a lifestyle. Those things are possible, but if you're going to go crazy after camp and put on 30, 40 pounds, then you're right, your body's going to just overall. It's going to become harder and harder to get down.
Yeah. So is there any other fighters like you're working with that we don't know about right now?
Not right now. Just going to focus on Julio. We spent some time together over a couple months ago. I spent about a month with him, and he wants to focus a lot on this year, and just wants to come back and kind of fell a little bit by the wayside a little bit, but it is what it is, and he made some mistakes, and he just got a little overwhelmed. But he wants to come back and focus and have a big